No, go ahead, Mike.
Okay. We've been discussing, um, Rick and I, about holding a class, say once a Saturday at the office and picking a different topic and going over in depth on your phone. So if you have any questions or whatever, we can adjust the speed of the lesson back and forth, answer questions more in depth. So hopefully by the time you leave the class, you'll know more than enough to get by using that app on your phone. This Saturday, it's going to be reminders. Uh, and then the next month, we'll pick another topic, be it camera or calendar or something. We'll go through. So if you're not that adept at it, or maybe you don't use it that often, hopefully by the time you're done, you go, oh, I could use it for this. I could use it for that. And there's no point in having a $1,000 phone at minimum that you're not fully utilizing. It's comparable to saying, well, geez, I want to get a sports car, but I'm going to live in Rossmore where I can only drive 25 miles an hour. It's just, and I'm sorry if somebody lives in Rossmore. I'm sorry. But that's our goal is to increase your functional knowledge of a particular app. Um, and I'll be honest with you, there are going to be times um, I won't know the answer, but we can figure it out or we'll get back to you on it. Currently, I teach a class twice a month over at Lafayette Community Center. And that's what we do. We go through one thing and we just go through it and we beat it to death till everybody in the room understands how to do it.
And we're not going to kill you with a bunch of videos,
Oh,
and
God,
we're
no.
not going to talk about Dreamware that isn't in the real world yet. We're going to talk to you about what you have on your phone today, not what
Exactly.
you may get in September.
And it's what's on your phone now and what's current and everything else. It's just there to be helpful. And please, everybody show up as much as you can. Bring your questions. Um, and we'll make a morning of it. What is it, 10:30?
It'll be
10
10
o'clock.
o'clock
10
on this
o'clock.
Saturday, the 13th of July, 2024.
And as if people don't know, this is at the DVMUG office. If you've never, we haven't had a meeting there in over 4 years, so this may be new to you. This behind me is the DVMUG office. I'm not there. It's a background, but this is what it currently looks like. And we can hold 20 people. And the address is 396 Civic Drive in Pleasant Hill, not in Walnut Creek.
Yes, don't go to the Civic Drive address in Walnut Creek because we ain't there.
Mm.
And it's in the driveway in the back. The door is in the back of the building. The landlord put up new numbers, 396, and it says DV Mug has a sign right next to the door. Go in the door, we're just right there immediately on the left.
It's a
And
nice
that's
place.
this Saturday at 10 a.m. till noon.
Mm.
And if you get in there and they offer you a cup of coffee, you made a wrong turn in the hallway, you're at the AA meeting.
You're at the yeah.
Right. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, please feel free to do so. But we've been vaccinated for COVID. I've had 7 of them, and so I think it'll be pretty safe. We also would ask that any of the attendees be vaccinated as well, keeping in mind that we're old guys and we don't want to die yet.
And for God's sakes, don't come in coughing. I don't, unless it's a smoker's hack, I guess. I don't, but yeah,
Okay.
just be
All
mindful.
right. So now let's move on with the rest of the meeting. I close this window, start the keynote, and keynote running, play, share.
You're not screen sharing yet.
Yeah, I know I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
Share, full screen. Okay, we good? You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. I have no news for you. I should delete that. Some videos and Q&A and social hour after the recording stops for members only recording. I debated on whether to just do Q&A this week, since we didn't do it last month because Jason was here. But I did. I have the videos to watch. If we don't want to watch them all, that's fine. We can stop halfway, whatever you want, and switch to Q&A. So we'll move forward. The first one is a short Apple one, and the rest of them are kind of medium, nothing over 10 minutes. And I'm going to stop between each video like I normally do. So we have Q&A or comments. I think that's a good part of the meeting. That's where we get discussion and learn new things. So feel free, wait for questions for that particular video. General Q&A after the videos have stopped, then we'll do that separately if they don't apply to the videos we're watching. Okay, here we go. First one's how to use Apple Pay. This is from Apple itself. Kind of long for one of them, but there's very good. I'll go here, go for it.
With Apple Pay, you can use your Apple devices to make purchases in stores, online, and in apps. It's easy, secure, and private. On your iPhone, open the Wallet app and tap the Add button in the upper right corner to add a credit or debit card. Then use the camera to scan your card or enter your card information manually. Your bank or card issuer might request additional verification to approve the use of your card with Apple Pay. Once you've added a card on your iPhone, you can verify it for use on your Apple Watch too. Once you've added multiple cards, you can change your default card at any time in Settings under Wallet and Apple Pay. When making a purchase in person, check for the contactless symbol or Apple Pay logo. You can use Apple Pay with your iPhone or Apple Watch at stores, restaurants, vending machines, when paying for ride shares or public transit, and more. When you want to make a purchase, you don't need to unlock your iPhone or open Wallet. On an iPhone with Face ID, simply double-click the side button and glance at your iPhone to authenticate. If you have an iPhone with Touch ID, double-click the Home button, then rest your finger on it to authenticate. Or depending on your settings, you can use your passcode. Your default card will appear for use. You can also tap your cards at the bottom of the screen to switch to a different one. When you're ready to pay, just hold the top of your iPhone near the contactless symbol on the card reader. When the transaction is complete, a chime will play, and a done message and check mark will appear on your screen. Buying something online? Apple Pay lets you skip filling out forms when making purchases in apps and on websites across your devices. Just tap or click the Apple Pay button and you'll be prompted to review the purchase details, confirm your billing and shipping address, and even choose a different payment method. Then, just authenticate with Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode to complete the transaction. And that's how you can make purchases securely and easily with Apple Pay. To learn more about your Apple devices, subscribe to the Apple Support YouTube channel or click another video to keep watching.
All right. People using Apple Pay? I don't use it. I should. Some people
Works
only use
great.
it, I'm sure.
I got to tell you, when traveling this last month or two over in Europe, it was a godsend. I never had to pull out a credit card. I just had my phone, which was all with me at all times. Just go up, scan it. It took care of everything. And every time I got a charge, it showed up on my phone so I could check my charges when it was happening. All of a sudden, okay, this charge went through. I used to think, I don't want to do that, but I tell you, it's been so handy. So
I use it too. It's very handy. I use
Yeah.
it for everything.
I now use it. I got my HSA account on there. I got my Clipper card for BART. I've got everything on there. And in case anybody's worried about somebody else picking up and using it, I had Judy pick up my phone and try and use it. Wouldn't let her because it scanned it. Nope, it's not your face. Nope, we're not doing that.
I use it
Apple Pay-
too.
Apple Pay is fantastic at the gas pump because before the first thing you do is you just open your Apple Pay to the credit card you want to use. You just hold it up to the pad on the pump, and before you do anything else, and boom, it's done. And it's secure because they can't use a sniffer or anything like that to steal your account number, because Apple Pay always uses one-time account numbers.
Yeah.
Best part was using Express Pass on all the London transport.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Well, we did when we were in London. We did have an Oyster card that we used, but we didn't put it on our phone, but we could have. And the Clipper card, as Mike says, works beautifully here.
yeah.
It's great when you're going to the airport or coming home from the airport at senior rates. When we came back from Europe, we got on BART at the airport. It was $4.50 to come to Lafayette. My buddy picked me up in Lafayette, and that was it.
Yeah.
But Mike, I don't think that the notification you get, the confirmation of the sale, has anything to do with Apple Pay. That's coming. That's a text from your credit card company.
But that's an added plus. I mean, I don't, quite frankly, I don't really care how I get it as long as I got it.
Yeah, but that's coming. That's between you and the credit card company. That has nothing to do with Apple Pay.
And that's good.
Happy 80th birthday to you.
I like seeing a list of what I've bought.
Yeah.
Catching up with me, buddy. I love it. How you doing?
Yeah.
So whoever's greeting
got it.
somebody,
I got
mute
it.
yourself. Okay.
I think that
mostly
was
Peter because it was his birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got I've got like 5 or 6 cards in my wallet. I can ping pong between which one I want to use. I kick myself for not using it sooner.
I frequently get takeout from this little hole in the wall Chinese place, and they find it delightful and hilarious that this old guy is so modern that he uses Apple Pay. They always chuckle and they go, when I call up to give them the order before I go pick it up, they always go, "Oh, you're that guy." Yeah.
I'm more amazed that you are implying that there are Chinese restaurants that aren't hole in the walls. I don't think I've ever been in a Chinese restaurant that's not a hole in the wall.
My question, did you have to notify Apple that you will be charging or using it in Europe or in a foreign country?
No. We had I think it's Citibank or Capital One. One of them has no charges for using it overseas or conversion rates or whatever.
Yeah.
So we just used that one.
But
And we contacted American Express and we contacted our credit cards, and they said, "No, we're good. Don't worry about it."
well, on the other hand, I notified my credit card and my bank that I would be out, and they wanted to know what countries I was going to be in.
Really?
And I told them when I'd be back, but they said, we'll give you an extra 10 days in case something happens. But yeah, they wanted to know. I don't use the Apple card. I use my American Express here,
Yeah.
but I used my Citibank card over there because there's no foreign transaction fees.
That's what I was saying. That's what we used, Citibank over there.
Yeah.
But even we contacted American Express in case something happened with Citibank, and they said, "No, we're good." But we notified them anyway. They said, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're okay."
So is Citibank international?
Yeah.
Credit
Oh,
card?
yeah.
Okay. So if you were using like Capital One
Hold on.
or Triple whatever, local, would you have to let them know that you will be out of the country?
Well, for
Very quick
security,
event.
it's a good idea because then they know it's you.
Okay. Jan had a question.
It depends on the credit card company. Some ask for it, some don't.
Yeah.
I just tell them.
Sure.
I finally got rid of Citi. They used to have such good customer service. It's gone down so far. I finally just canceled one of my cards.
Mm.
I'd like to amend something I said. The Capital One was the one we used overseas. Citibank is what we use at Costco.
Okay. Okay. So Capital One, huh? That's
Capital
why.
One is the one that had no transaction fees on it.
Okay.
And my Costco card has no transaction fees either.
Well, at Costco, yeah. Oh,
I
in
mean,
Europe it
in
didn't?
Europe.
Oh,
No, there's none in Europe.
I like my
And of course,
I like my AAA Visa card for Costco because they give me 4% cash back at Costco.
yeah.
Russ
Costco
has a
cards give you
question.
money back too.
Just had a question. You get the wallet app at the App Store?
You
It should
have
be built
the-
in-
you
it
already
should be
have it
built
in
into
your
your phone.
It's on your
built
phone
in.
now.
Everybody's talking. I couldn't hear that.
It's
What-
built
Nobody's
in.
talking.
My question is, do you get the wallet app at the App Store?
No, it's already
is-
it's already on your phone.
It's already on my phone. I couldn't find it.
It's
Okay,
there.
if you,
Type it in.
it
search
used to
for
be on older phones, you couldn't delete the built-in apps. Now you can, and it was possible that you deleted the wallet because you weren't using it. Then you go to the Apple Store and you can re-download it.
Okay, well, I haven't taken anything off, but
Tap the search bubble,
Yeah.
oh,
Search for it.
the little search bubble at the bottom of your home
wallet
screen,
app,
and start typing in a wallet.
wallet app.
No,
Wallet, just the word wallet.
You're right. I'd have to just,
You swipe in the middle of the screen, you get search, type in
There it
wallet,
is.
and you'll find
Like
it.
your background wipes that
one at a
out.
time, guys. One at a time. Let John do it.
yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think we got more Q&A than we did about the video. That's good. That's what I like.
Well,
Excellent.
Let's move
along these lines for Russ, I'd like to make a comment. What I
Go
did
ahead.
is I made a folder with all my Apple apps in it. So I need something like App Store, Home, Podcast, FaceTime. It's all in one folder. I don't have to search the whole home screens for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
Russ,
you.
Russ, pretend you're a secretary and you have an old filing system. You got a whole bunch of folders in it. Name them something, put stuff in there so you can find it later on.
I used to do that and organize stuff. I don't do that anymore. It's just I swipe in the middle, type what I want, it pops right up. I'm good
Yeah.
to go. I don't organize anything.
I do it just for Apple stuff. The rest of the stuff, I keep the ones I use on the front page, maybe the second one. and
I never get
everything
off the front page.
else. Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's a tip
Okay.
that you can do is, Jennifer, if you go all the way to the end where Apple organizes everything, scroll, use your two fingers, swish down. All your apps are in alphabetical order back there.
Right.
That's correct.
What do you do if you have an Android?
I don't have
Or
an
to a
Android.
different user group.
I was going to say, yeah, I don't.
I don't have an Android.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on to another video?
Sure.
Here we go. Go forward. This is interesting, I thought. A lot of people never use the news app. I use it every day, but I don't use it all, just certain things. But Gary's going to talk to us about the news app.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can use the News app, even if you're not into news. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So your Mac comes with an app called News. And in it, you can read news from various different sources. Now, you may have ignored that app because maybe you're not into reading news. But note that you can highly customize the News app to only show articles from sources that you want to see. So you don't have to see world news or political news or anything like that. You can customize it to see only news for a specific topic. Like, for instance, if you're just into tech news or science news or maybe entertainment news, you could specifically just see that in the News app and nothing else. This can make the News app useful even if you're not into reading news. So to do this, you want to do a couple things. So when you first use the News app, if you haven't used it before, then you're just going to see some top stories from various different sources. And you're going to see a bunch of things in the sidebar, including suggestions. Now, if you want to turn this into a customized news reader that only shows news from specific sources, then what you need to do first is go to News and then Settings. And the first item here is Restrict Stories in Today. So the Today section you can see here on the left, if you turn this on, it's only going to show you stories from channels that you follow. If you have this off, what it's going to do is suggest stories. Now, you could still customize things from there by liking stories or disliking stories, and then it will show you more or less of that kind of story. So you can definitely go that route. But if you do this, then it's not going to show you things unless you specifically select those sources. So now that we've got that turned on, let's get some sources here. So you could see here that following, I just have Apple News Spotlight. So let me control click, two finger click on a trackpad, right click on a mouse on that, and unfollow that. Now, I'm going to add some more here by doing a search. So let's say I just want to follow tech news having to do with Apple. So let's search for Apple. And I'm going to then see stuff appear on the right. There's the top result. There's a topic called Apple. There's some stories today, more topics, and then channels. This is where I want to look. And I want to click on See More here to see the complete list. Now I want to select things that I'll be okay with seeing. So let's go and say, yeah, Wired. Let's do Mashable. Let's do Ars Technica, The Verge. There's some Mac and Apple specific sites like these. Let's add those. And you can go through the list. You can always go back here and add more and even remove others. So now that I've added a bunch, you can see the ones I'm following here. So let's go ahead now and go back to today. And then you can see it's going to say checking for new stories. And then it'll reload the page. Now sometimes this might take a few minutes for it to do, or you just have to wait till the next time you use the news app. Or sometimes it happens right away. But you can see here, I'm only getting stories now from the sources that I chose. So now it's not showing me world news, for instance. It's not showing me financial news. It's just showing me news from these sources. It's like a custom RSS reader, but instead of RSS feeds, it's these special Apple News feeds. Now, if you want to further customize what you see here on the left, there's always a special coverage section, but you can just click here to hide that. And at the bottom, you also see suggested. You can click here to hide that. So you can just see these basic areas here, which comes in handy to look at your history of the stories you've read, to look at stories that you've saved, for instance. You also then can go directly to a news source. So you can click here, and it's just going to show you articles from that one source. Now, what's the advantage to doing this over going to the website for that source? Well, first thing is aggregation. You're bringing together all of these news sources. You don't have to go to all these different websites. Second thing is that the news app is actually a really good reader. If you go into each article, it's very nice to be able to read the articles here with minimal advertising. And you can save the story from here as well. You also can adjust your view settings so you can zoom in and zoom out for customizing how big the text is. If you ever want to remove something from the list here on the left, you can control click, two finger click, or right click, and then unfollow the channel. Now I've removed everything here from following. And let's say instead of Apple News, I want to follow entertainment news, just to have some light reading to take breaks throughout the day. So now I could go and do a search for entertainment. I can look and see channels here, and I could follow various different channels like that, go to see more and add more to it if I want. And when I'm happy with my selections here, going back to today, it should check for news stories and then refresh. And you can see now I've got a stress-free, fun entertainment news reader. Of course, the number of sources that you can read really depends on whether you're a standard news user not paying anything, or if you're using Apple's News Plus service. This is a subscription, but if you're like me, you're kind of getting it as a bonus when you use the Apple One subscription, which gets me lots of iCloud space, Apple TV Plus, and Apple Music. Oh, and here's a handy tip. If an article isn't Apple News, but you happen to be reading it on the web, you can actually jump to the Apple News version of it. So here I am looking at an article, and if I go to the Share button and choose Open in News, we'll open the News app and go right to that article. And it's usually much nicer to read it here. But this only works if the article is actually available on Apple News. You could also go the opposite way. If you're reading an article and you're finding that something's missing from the article in the Apple News version, you can go to the share button here and you can choose to open it in Safari like that, and it takes you to the web version of it. I usually find when I want to share an article with somebody, it's better to actually go to the web version of it and then share that URL instead of assuming that they're going to read it in Apple News, because you'll get an Apple News link if you share it from the News app. Now, I know some people are going to ask about RSS feeds, and you can't add a raw RSS feed to Apple News. It's a shame. You should be able to do that. Instead, you can only add news sources where the provider has actually registered with Apple News. It's actually fairly easy. I do it for MacMost, and it's just giving them permission to use the RSS feed, basically. So if your favorite news source isn't in Apple News, you may want to let them know that you'd like to see it there. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
That was good. I learned some stuff in there. Whoops.
I had to step away a little bit, so I missed some of the video. But the problem with Apple News, I always thought, was you had to pay for it, right?
No, there's free stuff in there, and then you'll see an icon for Plus, which you can only read usually. Sometimes you can read it for free, but usually you have to have Plus. But there's lots of stuff you can read, especially the Mac websites and stuff. Those aren't, you can read them on the web for free. You can read them in Apple News for free.
So I turned off notifications from Apple News on my iOS device because it was always popping up notifications for articles. I'd click the notification and I couldn't access it because I wasn't paying for News Plus. But I was just looking, so Apple News Plus is $13 a month, but Apple One is $19 a month, which includes music, Music Plus, News Plus, and the games, and it's only
Apple
$20 a
TV
month.
Plus, he said, I think, right?
Apple TV Plus, right? Apple TV Plus too. Is that right? That it's only $19 a month for all that stuff?
No, it's much more expensive than that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's different levels. You get more disk space too. No, it's more expensive than 19.
No, it says individual $19.95 a month for iCloud Plus, TV Plus, music, and arcade. So that doesn't include the news.
Doesn't include the news because the news is actually expensive.
So you need to go to Premiere, which is $38 a month.
Right.
Jan has a question. You're muted, Jen.
I'm muted,
You're
yeah.
muted.
Okay, sorry. I'm not totally clear on the what you can get for free. Do you still sign up for something, or can anybody do it?
Just go and look at the news and it will be clear. There'll be an icon that says plus for the stuff that's not free. The stuff that doesn't have that icon, then usually if you have to pay for it somewhere else, you have to pay for it to get it in Apple Plus. But the websites, like you showed Mac and websites, those you can read them on the web, you can read them in Apple News, you get them all in one place and categorize them.
No, that's nice. Times when I've tried reading some of this, I always run up against you can't see it because.
Well,
so
that's
I
because
just got
it's in the paid
discouraged with the
version.
whole thing.
Yes. Yeah, if you tried to read the Washington Post and New York Times, places you'd pay for it on the web, you don't get it for free in Apple Plus, unless you pay for Apple Plus.
So tell me, was anybody else impressed that even when he misspelled entertainment, it still went to entertainment?
That's good.
Looking on the web,
Apple intelligence at work.
Looking on the web, Apple One Premier plan is $37.95 a month.
Yeah.
And Apple News Plus is $12.99 a month.
Right. Well, Apple News Plus also gets you all kinds of magazines, correct? That you normally subscribe to, gets you tons of magazines.
But so does Prime. If you're a Prime member, you get magazines free.
I have Apple Plus and I use their puzzles. Their quartile puzzle. And then I use their news. They have cooking, they have recipes, they have travel, they have architecture, they have, God, they've got everything. And I don't travel, so it's cheap for me.
It also includes 2 terabytes of storage space.
Right.
And if you have the full account, you can share it with family members. So it's not just for one person.
Right.
So that's Apple News Plus gives you 2 terabytes.
No,
if you have the full plan,
App-
the $38 plan,
Oh.
it includes 2 terabytes of storage space.
Yeah. And what do you get with News Plus for storage?
You just
None.
read the news.
News Plus is just a fee for the news and the magazine.
News.
Period.
Okay.
So
They
Rick,
also,
so Rick, about you said you get magazines for free on Prime. I'm not familiar. I'm not aware of that.
I've never heard of
Yeah,
that.
this morning I read Popular Mechanics, as a matter of fact.
Where
How
did
did you
how
read
do you
it?
do that?
How did you read them?
I added it to my library. It said Prime magazines added to your library. I got rid of I had Vanity Fair in there before. I got rid of that and then added Popular Mechanics.
Well, you read it in what app? In the Prime app?
Uh, yeah, I guess it's not an app, but just online.
Online. You log into Amazon and there's
I logged
something in
into
there
Amazon, went to Amazon Prime.
in a
I'm
web
not
browser.
sure how I did it, but I did it. And I've also got a bunch of free books from them.
Are you reading them in?
But you have to read them on a screen, which is what I hate.
Right.
You're
I'd
not reading
much
them in
rather
the,
have a paper book.
not reading them in the Kindle app?
Yeah, that's right. It's in Kindle, come to think of
Oh,
it.
okay. All right.
Isn't it in Kindle Unlimited, Rick?
No, I don't pay for Kindle,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's
Well, then it
just
would
through
be
my
unlimited.
Prime membership.
I never heard of that before.
Me
I
neither.
found it just this morning, and I've previously had a bunch of books.
Are you doing that in the Amazon app on your iOS
I
device?
went to Amazon, and then it takes you into your Kindle app.
Somebody needs to check that out and verify for sure.
Yeah,
Let us know.
I'm not an expert on
I
it.
never
but-
heard of it before.
Okay, I'm looking at Kindle right now, and I've got a bunch of books here. I've got
Yeah, books I know. That's what Kindle's for, but I didn't know about magazines and
let's look at libraries.
that are subscriptions.
More here. Your list.
I'll
So
check it out.
Prime members access, let's see, where'd that go? Prime reading. So yeah. I guess
Prime
this is what
reading.
Rick is talking about here. Let me,
Yeah, here it is. Magazines in Prime Reading. Here's Classic Car Weekly, Ideal Home, Top Gear, Food, Reader's Digest, Race Car, Rail, Garden Answers, Vegan
Do they have,
Food,
but they have
Car
like
and
Mason.
Driver.
Do they have Macworld?
No.
Yeah, see, that's in News Plus. You get like major magazines, the regular, all the biggies.
They got Time, I think.
these are
And,
the ones that I currently get through News Plus. I get Mac Life, Vanity Fair, Southern Living, Time, People, Digital Photographer, InPhoto, Newsweek, Smithsonian, Rolling Stone, National Geographic, Vox,
Jeez.
Motor Trend, Car and Driver, Photo Plus, Macworld, Mother Jones, Classic Cars, Racer, Car, Wired, Motorsport, Entertainment Weekly, InStyle, Outside, Cruising World, Southern Living, and Birdwatching.
Is that all?
Those are only the ones that I subscribe to.
Those are only the ones he chose.
Yeah, there's more. Those are the ones that I choose.
Wow.
And I
But
get a
that's 30
notification whenever there's a new
$38 a
issue.
month.
Well,
Audio.
that's in Kansas City has one. You could get all those with just signing up for Apple News Plus for what is it, $12 or $13 a month?
$13.
Yeah, you could get any or all the magazines and the news. I think you get Washington Post, New York Times, and also a bunch of newspapers too, I believe.
Yes. And another thing that they also do, which I really like, is they'll take a an article and they'll have it narrated so you can listen to it.
Audio is a great. It sounds like a great feature. You don't have to read it. You can just listen.
And they also have like a 10-minute wrap up that they do every morning. You know, I usually listen to it when I get to work at 4 a.m, and it's basically talking about the day's news and some other stuff. And I'm pretty impressed with it.
Is that free or do you have to pay?
I'm guessing you probably have to pay. I don't know because I never tried it before I started paying.
So the Washington Post has been doing this for a while, and then now the New York Times is doing it too, where they have synthetic narrators, which basically means they're being read by AI, by a chatbot, which is pretty good. It's way better than the old Apple text-to-speech, which sounded terrible. These are pretty good, but somehow they're not the same. They're not like having a professional read something. It's not like that. And I'm wondering if Audible is going to start doing that instead of having real professional readers, which would be a great loss because it's just not, it's pretty good, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, News Plus usually has a live person because they'll say that, you know, who the author of the article was, and then they'll say who the name of the narrator is.
Okay.
That's good. Well, you know, I'm spending $20 a year for the Washington Post and $8 a month for the New York Times.
Well, there you go.
That's you know, that is kind of interesting. That may be worth my while to look at that.
You know,
except consider this. You're helping to support these news services, whereas if you're paying through Apple, it's probably like music, like they're probably getting a tiny fraction of your subscription fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is,
since advertising revenue has collapsed for these newspapers, if they depend on subscriptions.
Yeah, I feel it's important to support the papers. Yeah, I like that.
But if you really like a lot of content, this is a really great way to go.
Do you through News Plus, do you get access to like the entire paper or just select articles?
I don't know because I actually have subscriptions to the New York Times and the Chronicle and the Washington Post. As a matter of fact, here's a hint. It's probably not going to apply to anybody that's here today. But if you have a government email address, you can get a digital subscription to the Washington Post for free.
Huh.
And I have a GOV email address through my work. So I was able to sign up like years ago, and it doesn't cost me anything. But I'm actually paying for the New York Times. Though lately I'm wondering why I should, but that's another story.
Interesting.
So I paid $1 a week for the New York Times for years because I had an Elder College .edu address at San Francisco State. But like about a year or two ago, the price went up. I guess my students' status had finally ended in their books, but it was $3, and then there was a like sample period. And anyway, long story short, it started getting a lot more expensive. So I recently went on the New York Times to cancel my subscription, and I just clicked, and it said, "Why are you doing it?" This is what, it didn't talk to anybody. I said, "Too expensive," and it immediately said, "How about $1 a week for the next year for all access?"
Yeah, that's how they started me out, but then they raise you up over the years. I'm up to $8 a month now, and I don't mind.
A week.
It's worth
A
it.
week.
Right.
No, $8 a month is what I pay. So that's $2 a week.
Okay.
If you cancel and you keep refusing to continue, they keep reducing the price.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was interesting. We don't hear much about the news. We never had any video about it before. Barry's never done anything. But it's a complex app. There's a lot of content in there.
I don't think I ever even noticed before that there's a news Mac app. I was only aware of it on iOS.
Yeah, no, for a long time it was only on iOS. Now in the newer Mac OSs it's included. So
okay, that's what it is then.
It didn't used to be.
It's probably the same app ported to the Mac.
Yeah, they ported it once they started being able to do it. The apps are kind of, when they get them the same, they stay the same and they move forward the same, and then all the new features, and they keep them in sync. Okay, shall we move on to another topic? I like this comment. We learn stuff from this talking about these videos. Okay, let's go. Next one. Some mail tips from Ellen. Let's go. There we go.
The tips covered in this video include various email management tips and tricks for iOS mail app users. These features enhance efficiency and productivity when managing emails on your iOS devices. Welcome to Ellen's Tips for iOS, where I help seniors master their iPhones and iPads. If you find the video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Tip number 1, how to drag recipients between the two CC and BCC fields in email. So I have a message, a new email opened. I have the to field filled out. But if I realize that I didn't mean to put that particular person in the to field, I can push and hold on the name or that email, and I can drop that email into the BCC field. Or if I want, push it again and I can drag it to the CC. So you can move your recipients between those fields by just dragging and dropping. Tip number 2, what if you want to blind carbon copy yourself on every email you send? Well, you just need to flip a toggle in the mail settings. So if I open the settings app, I scroll down and I locate mail, tap on mail, scroll down towards the bottom, and you'll see an option under composing. Toggle this switch on to always BCC myself. Tip number 3, if I swipe down from the very top of an email message when I'm composing a new email or replying to one, the tab will be minimized at the bottom of the screen. So if I just grab this line at the top of the email and drag it down, you'll see that it's minimized at the bottom of the screen. If I want to look at another email, I can. You'll see that it's still minimized at the bottom of the screen. If I tap on it, where it says new message, you'll see that it brings it right back up to full screen. Tip number 4, to quickly select multiple emails, swipe up or down with 2 fingers in the inbox. So if I put 2 fingers on my screen and just begin to swipe up or down, it selects the emails that I want to, and now I can mark, move, archive, or delete. And to see the delete option, If I push and hold on archive, you'll see that I have the option to either trash those or archive them. Tip number 5, see only your unread emails. In the inbox, hit the circle icon with the 3 lines and you'll see only your unread emails. But you can see this can be filtered by several options. So I can tap where it says unread, and I could filter it by flagged, to me, CC, but the default option is to see your unread emails. Tip number 6, scan and attach documents. So you'll want to tap the scanner icon above the keyboard to scan documents into your email. And I bet you're wondering, well, where is that? Well, the first thing you have to do is tap into the area where you would compose your message. Once you do that, tap the arrow on the far right, and now you'll see the options that are available to you. And you can tap on the scanning icon to begin scanning documents into your email. Tip number 7, unsend an email. Did you inadvertently send an email to someone or you weren't quite ready to send it? You can hit the undo send button within a short period of time to recall it. So if I tap on the send icon, at the bottom it says undo send. If I tap on that, it automatically undoes the send, and you can customize this time frame to 10, 20, or 30 seconds. And to do this, I'm going to swipe out of mail. I'm going to open the settings app. I'm going to locate mail. I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom, and there should be an option right here, undo send delay. I can tap on this and I can take it up to as much as 30 seconds. Tip number 9, schedule an email. Once your email is composed, you can touch and hold on the blue send button to set it to go out at a later date and time. So I have a test message set up. If I push and hold on the blue send icon, a pop-up appears and I can send it now. I can send it at 9 p.m., send it 8 a.m. tomorrow. I can choose send later, and then I can pick the date and time that I want to send that email. Tip number 9, see more of an email in your inbox. You can adjust how much of an email you want to preview. So as you can see, I'm in the Mail app, and just underneath the email where it's coming from, you'll see a little preview of that email. That can be adjusted by coming into the Settings app, tapping on Mail, locating Preview, tap on None, and then you can choose up to 5 lines. I'll go ahead and tap on 5 lines, come back, and let's come back into the Mail app, and now you'll see 5 lines of preview. So you can adjust the amount of preview you see of all of your emails. Tip number 10, replace the default email signature. To replace the default email signature on your iPhone or your iPad, you'll want to open the Settings app. You'll want to tap on Mail. You'll want to scroll down until you see Signature. And as you can see, it says sent from my iPhone because that is the default signature. I can tap on that. I can change that to anything I want. It can be my name. It can be anything you choose. And then you can either have it sent that way from all of your accounts, because I have 4 different accounts in my email. But I could also do it per account. So if I tap on per account, you'll see that these are the accounts that are in my email right now, and I would be able to change each one, and that would be the default signature for those particular accounts. Mastering these tips and tricks can significantly streamline your email management experience on iOS devices, making communication more efficient and productive. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Okay. Questions, comments about that?
Just a comment that after, in the next release, instead of 5 lines from the beginning of the mail, it will actually be a summary of the message.
Really?
Part of Apple Intelligence.
AI at work.
Joanna has a question.
Well, just a comment. The idea that to delay an email, you have to put your finger on the arrow to send it first and then hold it. It seems like there's room for error there, and some are going to get sent by accident.
No, I think you can unsend it for 10, 20, or 30 seconds to all of them. It's the press and hold and set for later you have to set. But I think any email you send, it really doesn't leave for your default time period. You can unsend it.
Oh, well, that's
I
good.
believe, right?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
That's by default. That's on by default for everybody. You can turn it off too if you don't want it. If you want your messages to go. Should I send a test message and it's going to take 30 seconds? I don't know. Sometimes I wish I got it back, but usually it's not within 10 or 20 seconds. I should have said something else. But then I usually go to my sent mail and hit reply, and it sends a second email quoted what you said, and you add something else. Oh, I meant, here's some more information.
Jerry has a question.
I just had a comment. I just learned something there that's been bugging me for years. And it has nothing to do with email. It's for messages. I couldn't figure out how to delete multiple messages. Always did it one at a time. But that 2-finger swipe, I just tested it. It works on messages.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good to know, Jer.
Jerry, another way of doing it
Yeah.
is to hold the first message down that you want to delete, and you get an option for more. And then the more is, and I just forgot. There is an
there's a
option.
little dot in front of each message. You can select discontinuous ones,
Just
and then
2
when you're all
fingers
done
swipe
clicking,
down.
and then you can deliver it all at once.
Right.
I just tried that, and it sure does work for messages. Because I hate to keep old messages. I try and clear them out.
Don't you have to go to recently deleted and clear those too?
Yeah, and newer phones, I put newer versions of messages.
Yeah,
It goes for 30 days until recently
Yeah.
deleted. Didn't used to be that way, and you used to lose your stuff by accident when you didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, once I decide to toss it, it's tossed, period.
Okay. Anything else? Shall we watch another one?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what we got. How to save photos from Apple Messages. A lot of people get photos in their messages and they don't get them out of there, and they don't put them in their photos, and it's hard to find them, and they're afraid you're going to lose them, and they're very precious family photos and stuff. So here you go.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Are messages using up a lot of space on your iPhone or Mac? Let me show you how you can tidy it up and keep it clean moving forward. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There, you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the Messages app taking up a lot of storage space. This usually happens not because you get a lot of messages, as text messages don't take up much space, but because you send and receive a lot of photos and videos, and these are all saved in your Messages database as well. For instance, here on the Mac, if you go to System Settings and then go to General and then go to Storage, you'll see Messages here, and you may find that might be one of your biggest items. It's not the case here on my demo account, but I've seen people report large numbers here. Likewise on the iPhone, if you go into Settings and then go to General there and then look at iPhone Storage, you may also see a large amount here for Messages. Furthermore, if you click on that and then look at what's taking up space, you may find that photos and videos are using a ton of storage space. Now looking at Messages on either device, you'll see all your conversations and you'll be able to look at a conversation, of course, see the contents. So in this case, here's a conversation and you can see there are some pictures and videos here. And it could be that this conversation goes back years and has dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of photos that you've sent back and forth with this person. And these, of course, all take up space. Some may be compressed and only take up a few hundred K, while others may be the full resolution versions of photos that could be a couple megs in size. And it really adds up. And then, of course, videos could take up even more. Now, if you have this problem, dealing with it may take two steps. One is to deal with all of the photos and videos you have so far. And the other is to create good habits so this doesn't happen again moving forward. So the idea is basically any photos or videos that you want to save, that you want to keep, you should get out of the Photos app and then delete them from within the Photos app. If you don't want to save them, you just simply need to delete them. So it's pretty easy to do when you're looking at a conversation. For instance, here on the Mac, there's even a little download button here. And if I click that, it will ask if that photo should be saved to your Photos library. But you could also control click, two finger click, or right click on any image like this, and you have a variety of options. For instance, you could add it to the Photos library. You can simply copy it. And if you do that, you can paste it into a document. But more importantly, you can paste it in the Finder. So for instance, if you want to save it, but you don't want to add it to your Photos library because it's not a photo you took, you could go into a folder you've created in the Finder. And from here, you can go and paste item, and that copied photo will now appear there. But you could also just drag and drop. So I could take this image right here, for instance, and drag it into the Finder like that. And you can see that also works. Also notice that when you bring up the context menu, you have the option to delete right here. So you could get rid of this after saving it, or if you don't want to save it, just get rid of it. Now there's another more convenient way to do this on the Mac, and that's while you're in a conversation, click the I button at the top right, and then scroll down and you'll see here a section called Photos. And here you can access all your photos. Now it turns out there's exactly 6 in this demo conversation here, but if there were more, you would see a Show More button, and then you would just be viewing photos. Here you can control click on these and get the Add to Photos library, Copy, a Share option, and Delete. You could also drag and drop from here, and you could also select multiple ones. So I can select this one, and I'm going to command click and select this one and this one. And now I can drag all 3 of these like that, or control click to delete them all. So this is an easier way to view your photos without having to scroll through all of the messages, a majority of which may be text. This will just focus on the photos and videos. Now I've got the same basic functionality in the Messages app on your iPhone and iPad. So for instance, I can go into this conversation here and I could see these photos. I could also click here at the top where you see the little icon or avatar, and then I can scroll down and you can see the same Photos section will show videos as well. There's a See All button just to go into this. You can tap and hold on one and you've got your Save, you've got Copy, you've got Share, you've got Delete. You could also select, and you could select multiple ones, and you've got a Delete button at the bottom right, but you also have a Save button which will just save it to your Photos app. So you could save them. So I can say save these 3 here, and then I could select them again, and then I could delete these if I want and get them out of Messages. And just like with Messages on the Mac, you can do this in the conversation itself. So here's a little Save to Photos button. You can tap and hold on a photo like this, and you've got options here. Now another way to deal with them that could actually even be easier is on the Mac, go to System Settings, and then go to General, and then in here go to Storage, click on the I button for Messages, And now you're going to see a list of media that's in Messages. And you could select one or Command click or Shift click to select multiple ones. Here you can easily delete these items. You can also, if you select one of these, show in Finder, and it'll actually go deep into your user library, into the database where the Messages app stores things, and give you the file. So you can now take this and drag it elsewhere. So store it in a folder or drag it to the Photos app if you like. One of the big advantages to doing this is you can actually sort. You can see I've got it sorted by size here. So you can sort and get the largest ones out first. So if you just need to clear some space now and you want to deal with all of your photos later on, you can use this to see what the largest files are and get rid of those. On the iPhone and iPad, if you go into Settings and then General and then iPhone Storage and then in the Messages, you can go into one of these individual sections here like Photos, and you'll also see a list here sorted by size. If you go to Edit, you can select more than one and easily delete them. Or you can select one like this and you can view it, and you can tap here at the top and you could save to Files, save to Photos, or share like that. You could also use this button down here and you've got similar options. So you can deal with your existing photos and videos in the Messages apps on your iPhone and Mac, or you can deal with them in System Settings or Settings as well. Now you shouldn't have to deal with it separately on your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. You should be able to do it on one and it should sync with all the others, but you have to be using Messages in iCloud. So on the iPhone here, if you go to Settings and then go to your Apple ID and then you go to iCloud here, you want to go to Show All under Apps and look for Messages in iCloud. And if you have that turned on, then everything should be syncing between your devices. So you can choose one device, say your Mac, get rid of a bunch of the photos and videos, save them out, delete the rest, and then it should eventually sync with your iPhone. You don't have to do it again. On your Mac, you would also find this under Apple ID here, under iCloud, and then go to Show More Apps. And then here you'll see Messages in iCloud as well. Notice that you also have the option here for setting a time limit for keeping messages. I know there are people that want to keep their messages forever and others that want to get rid of them as soon as they've read them. Well, you've got this keep messages setting here, and you could set it to say 30 days or 1 year. So that way it would limit how much storage Messages is using. Now, once you've tidied everything up, how do you move forward without creating the same mess again over time? Well, the idea is to manage the photos and videos as they come in. So you get a message from somebody, you view the photo. If you feel you're done with it and you don't need to do anything with it, you can, right at that point, go ahead and delete it. Or if you feel you want to save it, like maybe somebody sent you a photo they took of you, you could add it to your photos library or save it some other way and then delete it. But the idea is to kind of keep up with things if your Messages storage is important to you. You don't have to do it with every message as soon as it comes in. You could just do it periodically or when it's convenient. It's really up to you how you handle it. For some people, they just prefer to get a lot of local storage, a lot of iCloud storage, and just save everything. And if you want to do it that way, that's fine. But if you want to limit how much storage is used by Messages, then you're going to have to work at it a little bit here and there. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Now, some people, this is a problem. They live in the Messages app and constantly send videos, and it gets to be huge. Comments, questions?
Yes, I had to unmute. This is a perfect example of a video where there's too much data to absorb, and a good discussion afterwards would be better, because there was so much that he gave us that I missed. I couldn't take notes on it. So it went in my eyes and out my ears, kind of.
Yeah, well, that's where
Anybody else
so
feels
if there's something that you got to review, there's the link. You can go back and rewatch it and pause it, and if it's important to you, or you're gonna need to get it. One thing you got to know on the older, he did show on the Mac in System Settings iCloud that you can turn on Messages syncing right from there. That wasn't the case in older versions of Mac OS for some reason. You had to do it in the Messages app itself and turn it on, which didn't make any sense. So they must have fixed that in Sonoma.
My point is that without having to go back to review the video, because you'd have to start and stop it, what I recall from when I was a kid in school, the teacher would go through something and then they would take time to go over each segment afterwards to kind of reinforce it in the student's memory.
Bingo.
And here's where a good discussion would be valuable, I think. Maybe I'm just a voice in the wilderness. I don't know if other people agree with me or not.
No,
yeah. Well, that's what this is for. Comments, questions, maybe we can answer them. What you had a question about it during the video?
I'm with you on
You're
that,
saying
Rick.
somebody
I mean, it's something you could do on a Saturday, and you could spend
all
hour
these things. Yeah, that this could be messages can be a topic in the
On the Saturday
iOS
phone
boot
thing.
camp.
Yeah.
I think Mike was trying to say something and you talked over him, John.
Well, actually, I was trying to say just what he said. That would be something you do on a Saturday at the boot camp with no phone left behind. It's like, okay, fine. You know, we're going to break it down. And as we go through it, and we'll just say, okay, if you want to go this way, this is what you do. If you want to go this way, it's what you do. And you work your way through it until everybody that's there understands what their options are and can do it. And if you get like I said, I always give people handouts. So when they leave, they've got their basic notes done and they can go back and add their own into it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. It's something that it took 3 or 4 minutes on here, but you could spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in a classroom easily on that.
This only applies to certain people. Some people don't send a lot of videos and text and they don't have this problem. And some people, you probably know who you are.
Yep.
You have years worth of massive amounts of videos and like it's overwhelming.
Well, I'm one of those
They
guys.
save everything forever.
I never get rid of any of my text messages because they take up so little room. And invariably somebody will say, remember that? And it's like, let me go back and find, oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. Or no, here, send you a text, you've got it.
Okay. Shall we move on and see another one?
Barely hear you. Lori from who?
This is a good one. I like this one. Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's talk about your photos library and how the photos in your library relate to the photos you see in albums. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So I often get questions about how photos are stored in the Photos app. All your photos in the Photos app are stored in what's called a library, your Photos library. And there's a way to view them all, but you could also create albums and view your photos that you place inside of a particular album. But often people get confused about where the photos are actually located and if when they create albums put photos in them, whether or not there are duplicates of the photos now in their library. So basically when you use the Photos app, you could see here on the left, the top item is Library. And if you choose that, then you're going to see all of the photos in your library. You can actually choose at the top here to view them by years, months, days, or all photos, which gives you a complete list. So all photos is a way to view every single photo in your library in chronological order, with the oldest at the top and the newest at the bottom. But you can also create albums. Let's do that by going to File, New Album. And you can see it's going to add it here on the left under Albums. I'll call this My Album. And it's empty. It says there are no items in here. But I can go to my library and I could select different photos here and add them. An easy way to do that is just to drag and drop. So I'm going to drag the second photo, the third photo, and also the seventh photo to this album called My Album. Now when I select it, I'm just looking at those 3 photos. So I'm just seeing the ones in the album called My Album. And it could be confusing to think that these 3 photos are located here and they're also located in the library. Are there actually 2 copies of them? If not, where exactly are the photos? Are they in the library or are they in this album? So it's important to remember that the idea of calling these albums, that's kind of a light metaphor. Don't really think of it as a physical photo album where you would actually have the photo itself on a page in that album. In the digital library of your Photos app, all of your photos are in the library once. Every one is listed here in the library. The albums are just a different way to view these same photos. So here using all photos, I'm viewing every single photo in chronological order. But by creating an album and putting 3 photos in there, what I'm actually looking at is a subset of that. These 3 photos are still in your library. I've just chosen a different way to view those 3. This doesn't show me all my photos, just these 3 photos, but they're the same 3 photos. They aren't duplicated. So here's another way to look at it. Here's your photos library, and you can see it's got all of those photos in there. And let's say you want to create an album. So you create an album, and then you want to put photos in it. Let's choose those same photos, the 2nd, 3rd, and 7th photo, and let's put them in there. So now your photos library looks like what's on the left, and the album looks like what's on the right. But the photos aren't in 2 different places, and they're not duplicates of the same photos. It's more accurate to think of the album as linking to the original photos. So something like this, where when you view the album you see 3 photos, but it's really just showing you the photos from your photos library. There's not a separate copy of the photos. I'll find that some people that have trouble with the idea of photos albums can more easily understand it if they think of them like playlists in music. There's something about that word playlist that kind of makes it clearer. So here I am in my music app, and I'm looking at my library, and I'm looking at a complete list of all my songs. Looking at songs in your library in the music app is very similar to looking at all photos in the Photos app. So here I see a list of all of my songs. Now I can create what's called a playlist here by going to File and then New and Playlist. And I'm going to call this My Playlist. And it's going to create it here on the left. If I select it, I can see nothing's in it. But if I go back to Songs here and I select, say, 3 songs and drag them into my playlist, if I go to it, I can see those 3 songs are there. But these aren't copies of those 3 songs. It's kind of understood that a playlist, it's just a different way to play your music. The songs are all just here in the library one time, but you have a playlist to be able to play a special set of those songs in a special order. And the Photos app and album is the same thing. It's kind of a playlist of photos. These photos are all in your library, but this is a way to just view these 3 photos in this order. There are many different reasons you may want to use an album. You may want to have an album and then gather all the photos from a specific event or a trip, or you may want to gather photos that are of a specific type, like all photos of waterfalls or all photos of flowers or all photos of some other type or having some other meaning to you. And you can have the same photo in multiple albums. So if you took a picture of a flower while you're on a trip, you may have that photo in that album for that trip, and you may also have it in an album of your best flower photos. But you could also not use albums at all. That's perfectly okay. If you go to Library here, you're going to see buttons at the top or drop-down menu depending upon how wide your window is, and you could view by years, months, days, or all photos. So if you group together by, say, months, you kind of get a natural listing here. The same thing by days. It kind of groups them together according to days and location. And for some, this organization is great. It takes no time to do it, and it more or less works. But other people like to actually create their own albums and curate their own collections of photos like that. It's really up to you whether you use albums or not, or how much you use them. Now, it's also important to think about albums in terms of how you delete photos. So let's say you want to delete a photo from an album. It's also important to think of the terminology correctly. Instead of thinking about deleting a photo from an album, think about removing it. This word gives you much clearer pictures of what's going on. So let's say we're going to remove the last photo from this album. So remove this one. When I do so, it's removed from the album, but it hasn't touched the actual photo in your library. It's just gone from that album. So removing photos from albums does not get rid of them out of your library. So just as when you add a photo to an album, it's not duplicating that photo. When you remove it from an album, it's not deleting it from your library. It's still in your library. You've just removed it so it's no longer in that playlist or album of your photos. Now what about the other way? If you were to delete a photo from your photos library, so I'm going to say delete this one. This will get rid of it completely from your photos library. It won't be in your app anymore. So of course, when you do that, now there's nothing for that album to link to, so it is automatically removed from that album. Now, a question I often get about this is from people who like to create albums that include all their photos. So if they go on a trip and they take a bunch of photos, all of those go into one album. If they go to an event and they take a bunch of photos, all those go into another album. So all of their photos are represented at least once in one album. Having that, they just want them to be in albums. They don't want them to be in library, all photos. But that's not how it works. Remember, all photos is a complete list of all the photos you have. By definition, every photo in your photos library is in your photos library. So when you view all photos, well, you're going to see literally that, all of your photos. If you'd rather only view them in albums, then certainly just do that. Only ever look at albums. You don't have to go to your library and view things as all photos. You never have to do that. It's there for you if you like. And obviously, if you were to have a photo that wasn't in any album, the only way to actually see it would be in all photos. But if you're constantly putting every single photo in at least one album, then you don't need to look at all photos if you don't want to. You can just ignore it and never use this view of your photos library. And note that all of this is exactly the same on your iPhone and on your iPad. Your library and your albums all work the same way in Photos. And if you're using iCloud Photos, it works the same way. It doesn't matter if the Photos library is just local to your Mac or it's iCloud Photos. Your library is all of your photos, and albums are kind of like playlists where you select certain photos that you can view there, but they're not duplicates of those photos. So I hope this makes it a little clearer as to how the Photos library and albums work in the Photos app. Thanks for watching.
So that should hammer it home. You have no doubt about how it works. Questions, comments?
That was very well done.
Yes. That was always a hard
Especially-
thing for me to get across to students, that
Once you understand that, you got it. It's been like that forever. It's not something new. It's been like that since day one.
That was excellent. I agree. Very, very well presented and good information to know.
Right. Very specific topic. Okay. So we're pretty good on videos. It's 4:15. We don't have to watch anymore. I think there is only one more, but you want to go to general Q&A or?
Yeah.
Watch it.
Let's go to Q&A.
I think there's only one more. We'll save that one for, yeah. So people watching on YouTube, you know that we're going to end the video now, and DVMUG members who wants to see the Q&A, we'll start a new video, and you can find that link on the BBS. So I will now stop the recording. I'll stop the share. I will stop.